Amazing discovery. Shy Waitress' transformative gift to Billionaire's deaf mother shocks everyone. The bell above the diner door chimed as Mia hustled between tables, a whirlwind of energy masking the immense fatigue etched around her eyes. Her mother's decline had been slow, a creeping shadow over their lives, and every day felt heavier, each moment dangerously close to tipping her into despair. Today, however, the atmosphere was charged, the usual chatter punctuated by the urgent whisper of her painted dreams echoing in the back of her mind. Her hands served Joe and pancakes, but her heart held a brush, yearning for canvas and color. Then he entered, James, all sharp suits and taut expressions, transforming the air around him. His phone conversation crackled with tension, his voice rising as he wrestled with some unseen burden, the pressures of a powerful family. Silently, Mia observed him and the woman sitting at their table, Eleanor, his mother, who watched the world whisper away, trapped within the silence of her deafness. A memory flashed through Mia's mind of her own mother staring blankly at long-past photographs. A pang of connection twisted in her chest, how easily the world disregarded the fragility of mothers under the weight of ambition. Just then, an alarming crack erupted from James' voice, echoing frustrations and emotions meant only for the receiver. Mia's heartbeat quickened, the familiar ache of witnessing a loved one overlooked surfacing in her thoughts. An internal battle arose. Should she remain silent, playing the role of the invisible waitress, or should she step into the strange, uncertain realm of confrontation? With a shaky breath, she ventured into the fray. She deserves to be heard. Mia's voice trembled, but held a strength she didn't fully comprehend. At that moment, something shifted in James. His brow dipped, dark clouds of burdens momentarily lifting as he regarded this petite waitress with curious disbelief. He glanced at Eleanor, whose eyes searched his, a longing for connection lingering between them. Mia's stomach knotted with a mix of vulnerability and unexpected pride, knowing she had spoken for Eleanor in a world that often silenced the fragile. But then doubts crashed over her like a wave. Did she have any right to intrude? Was this sweep of courage merely a flicker before the dark? The intimate familiarity of her own mother's suffering bathed in a fog of shame clouded Mia's vision, memories pressing like whispers in her ears. Feelings of obligation surged. What would happen if James rejected her plea? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue as they locked eyes. A silent understanding flickered between James and Mia, like the hesitant bloom of spring amidst winter's chill. His subsequent commission of a painting for Eleanor, an idea that at first felt exhilarating, morphed into an unyielding weight on Mia's shoulders. As the days unfolded, paint splattered and colors bled into her canvas. Her internal conflict deepened, entwining her with the emotional echoes of two mothers desperately seeking their children's acknowledgement. Yet for every stroke she took, the shadows of doubt multiplied. Would this painting truly bridge the gulf between them? Or would revealing Eleanor's heart expose all that Mia feared? Familial neglect, broken expectations? Mia grappled with her own powerlessness, heart racing at the thought of using her passion to affect the emotional landscape of a wealthy, disconnected family. Her dreams simmered just out of reach, stirring intensity in her chest, an undefined longing. The day of the unveiling loomed, filling her with dread and anticipation. She remained unsure if the colors of her creation would thread redemption through stubborn relationships or unearth fractures that could shatter years of silence. A single thought haunted her. Was it too late for connection, for healing? Could art transcend the burdens that weighed them down? As doubt clawed at her heart, Mia recognized she stood on the precipice of change, her brush wielding the power not only to paint, but to ignite the true worth of love and vulnerability. Mia stood in her small studio apartment, the smell of paint and turpentine surrounding her like a cocoon. Sunlight streamed through the window, casting vibrant hues across the canvas. She stepped back, staring at the painting of Eleanor, a representation not just of a woman, but of longing, silence, and the uncharted depths of unspoken love as the day of the unveiling neared. Her anxiety coiled tighter with each passing hour. Every brushstroke felt like a plummet into the unknown. What if Eleanor found her portrayal lacking? What if James stared at the canvas and saw only a reflection of their dysfunction rather than a door to connection? These thoughts crowded her mind, each one a jagged edge that threatened to cut into her budding sense of purpose. Mia moved to her makeshift workspace, where sketches cluttered the desk like soldiers awaiting a battle. Each image portrayed a different facet of Eleanor's life, the laughter of earlier years, the somber gaze reflecting years of silence, the fears while hidden behind a gentle smile. With each sketch, Mia attempted to channel the emotional landscape that had shaped both Eleanor and James. Yet the fear of inadequacy gnawed at her insides. "Do I even have the right?" she whispered to herself, echoing the fears of a lifetime. The waitress persona felt easier to embody, serving coffee, offering polite smiles. Stepping into the role of an artist with a voice that mattered was an entirely different struggle. She recalled the fleeting moment of courage she had shown, pushing herself into an emotionally intimate space. That bravery now hung like a specter, haunting her with the fear of failure. Days passed, each blurring into the next. Mia took solace in the repetitive motions of painting, yet even the act of creation seemed tainted by the weight of expectation. She had poured her heart into this project, but what if it fell apart at the seams? Her phone buzzed, startling her from her reverie. It was a message from James. "Looking forward to seeing your work tomorrow." The words felt like a rope thrown to her amidst turbulent waters, but it also tightened the noose of expectation. She didn't want to let him down. As night enveloped her neighborhood, Mia felt the urge to escape. It was a familiar impulse whenever the weight of reality became too pressing. She threw on a jacket and stepped outside, the chill in the air striking against her skin like a sensory wake-up call. The streets held the usual hum of life. Laughter, distant music, the sound of life unfurling, unwavering. Each step felt significant, like a decision to confront her fears head-on. She found herself at the diner, its familiar glow welcoming and comforting. The patrons, the smell of fried food, the laughter, all reminders of a simpler time. Maybe she didn't need to hide behind the canvas. Perhaps she could embrace the vulnerability that came with being true to herself. Inside, she caught sight of Eleanor and James seated in their usual booth. The sight of them locked in a silent conversation reached in her heart, stirring every frustration and hope within her. She could feel the weight of Eleanor's silence pouring out a yearning for communication, for understanding. It ignited a spark within Mia, propelling her back home to her canvas. The night stretched ahead of her, filled with uncertain thoughts swirling in her mind like paint mixing on a palette. The layers of her previous doubts began to peel away, replaced by a newfound resolve. Tomorrow, she'd unveil not just a painting, but a piece of her heart, a testament to connection. Could her brush illuminate the path to their healing? Or would it simply unravel the fabric of secrets that lay underneath? The realization hit her. The true art dwelled not in perfection, but in the raw essence of human emotion, in the willingness to be seen. Tomorrow's unveiling would not only test her skills as an artist, but challenge her entire notion of self-worth. And as she drifted to sleep, one last thought clung to her. The moment of truth was at hand, and there was no turning back now. The morning of the unveiling arrived like a slowly opening book. The sun filtered through Mia's apartment window, illuminating the chaos of her workspace. Her painting stood on the easel, vibrant yet intimidating, each hue pulsating with the emotions she had poured into it. She leaned in closer, her breath catching as a wave of doubts surged once more. What if her devotion to Eleanor's story was lost on those who gazed upon the canvas? Could she truly translate the depths of silence into compelling visual language? Mia steadied herself. The mirror reflected a woman caught between her past and her aspiration. She needed to abandon the shadow of self-doubt haunting her. Just as the paint melded on her palette, she too must become a tapestry of her experiences, merging the girl who served coffee with the artist who sought to express a profound truth. In her heart, she longed to redeem herself not just for her artistic expression, but for her entire existence. Today could be the turning point. With a decisive breath, she dressed in a soft linen blouse, feeling the fabric embrace her like a subtle layer of confidence. She dared not continue to hide behind the waitress persona. Today, she would step fully into her role as an artist. As she walked toward the venue, the air filled with a mix of anticipation and unease. Each step brought a jolt of adrenaline, pushing her closer to a confrontation with her fears. It was as if the city itself had taken on heightened colors, a tribute to the emotional storm brewing inside her. The streets thrummed with life, yet Mia felt a profound disconnect, a deep chasm between those moving forward with purpose and her creeping self-doubt. Entering the venue, the atmosphere buzzed with chatter and curiosity. Local artists mingled, laughter flitting around like birds. Mia's heart raced as she scanned the room, her focus sharpening on the faces she recognized. James stood by the refreshments, his presence both grounding and electrifying. The sight of him ignited a flicker of hope, but also intensified her fear. What if today ended in disappointment? As the minutes trickled by like the steady drip of paint from her brush, Mia felt the weight of expectation pressing down. She could almost feel the eyes of critics upon her, judging whether her portrayal of Eleanor merited admiration or ridicule. The clock struck the hour, reverberating ominously through her core. Ladies and gentlemen, a voice boomed, pulling her from the spiral of her thoughts. It was the curator, preparing to unveil the artwork. The crowd gathered, murmurs rippling through the audience, each whisper a dagger of uncertainty aimed at her resolve. Mia's breaths became shallow as she took stock of her surroundings. There was no turning back. When the curtain dropped away to reveal her masterpiece, the room fell silent. She watched as mouths formed small O shapes, the attendees caught between awe and confusion. Every gasp echoed like a thunderclap in her heart. She noticed James shift, the way his eyes studied the canvas. There was a flicker of understanding there, maybe even recognition. But here lay her moral crossroads. Would she allow their interpretations to validate her journey, or would she find worth in the act of courage that had gotten her here? The quiet whispers of the crowd transformed into a symphony of analysis, every comment imbued with potential impact. A woman in the front began discussing elements of light in her portrayal, while an older gentleman remarked on the emotional weight he felt beneath the layer of paint. Mia's stomach tightened, the enormity of it all engulfing her. She realized that some observed the painting, while others were drawn to the notion of connection, her connection to Eleanor, her connection to them. And perhaps, in that moment, she could confront not only her fears but reveal the depth of her own emotional landscape. Emboldened, she stepped forward and joined the conversation. Her voice trembled, but every word carried a piece of her narrative, the motivations behind her brushstrokes, the emotions. Steering her hand. With each revelation, she felt the weight lift. She was not merely an observer in this world, but an integral character weaving her story into theirs. But as the crowd began to disperse, Mia caught sight of Eleanor and James standing awkwardly at the back, their faces a mixture of surprise and something unnameable. And for the first time, Mia felt a spark of urgency. She yearned to turn this singular moment into something transformative. The unveiling had become merely the prologue. As the last remnants of applause faded, she recognized the truth within her own uncertainty. Healing was impossible without vulnerability. She thought of Eleanor's silence, She could no longer allow it to remain unchallenged. With a deep breath, she approached them, determination building within her. Today was not just about art. It was the gateway to a deeper connection with them, with herself. Eleanor, she began, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside. We need to talk. As their eyes met, everything shifted. The potential for change radiated from that moment, an opportunity to explore the layers of connection she had tangled with fear. What exactly would unfold from this confrontation? The answer lay just beyond reach, hidden in the raw honesty of their exchange. Mia's pulse thundered in her ears, the anticipation almost unbearable as she stood before Eleanor and James. The moment felt electric, charged with both apprehension and hope. There was no turning back. This was the culmination of all her internal battles manifesting in this single, weighty moment. Eleanor's gaze softened as Mia began to speak, her hands fidgeting at her sides. Eleanor, I poured everything into that painting. It's not just colors on canvas. It's your story, my story, the silence that defines us both in different ways. I wanted to show the world what lies beneath. A flicker of hurt crossed Eleanor's face, and Mia's heart sank. It was as if the weight of unspoken feelings had materialized between them, heavy and daunting. But you don't understand, do you? Eleanor finally replied, her voice low. You've painted your interpretation. What about what I feel? The words struck Mia like a physical blow. It felt too raw, too personal, like peeling back layers of skin. I'm trying to understand, she said, fighting to keep her voice steady. I want to connect with you, Eleanor. I want to explore what your silence means, not just what it looks like from the outside. James looked between them, eyes widening as if he were witnessing two worlds colliding. Eleanor, he started cautiously, but Mia's need to keep talking pushed past the awkwardness. You had to know that your silence was part of my journey as well, she continued, panic creeping into her tone. I can't let fear or misunderstanding dictate our relationship anymore. I want to need to learn from you. Eleanor's expression hardened momentarily, but something in Mia's fierce determination seemed to crack the facade. You think you can understand me through a painting? It's not that simple. Mia weighed each word, feeling the tension mounting. No, maybe it isn't, but I'm willing to try. I may never fully grasp your silence, but I want to speak about it, the struggles, the beauty. Don't you see? Art isn't just the final product. It's the dialogue that follows. It's the connection. Eleanor's defenses wavered, her eyes glistening with unspent emotions. You have a gift, Mia. It's not just about the painting. It's about what people feel in response. If you can evoke feelings from people, maybe you can evoke them from me. Exactly, Mia urged, her enthusiasm surging. Let's explore those feelings together. You can show me where the silence lives, and I can share how it influenced my art. I want us both to heal. James's quiet observation provided a grounding force amid the emotional whirlwind. He stepped forward, breaking the tension like the sudden sun breaking through clouds. Perhaps this is the beginning of a new kind of understanding, he suggested, his voice soft yet authoritative. You both have valuable insights to offer each other. There's real potential in vulnerability. Mia met his gaze with appreciation. For the first time, she felt like an artist, not just in the brushstrokes she laid down on canvas, but in the fabric of relationships she was weaving with her words. Each moment of honesty unraveled a tighter knot within her, unlocking not just the art, but a piece of herself in the exchange. Eleanor finally nodded, vulnerability seeping into her features. Okay, she said, her voice barely above a whisper, yet laced with newfound resolution. Let us talk. I'll share my silence, and you can share your painting. But you have to promise to listen, truly listen. Mia's heart swelled with purpose, the path ahead illuminated by their shared commitment to understanding. This wasn't merely a moment of confrontation. It was the dawn of an exploration, art and connection intertwining in a brilliant dance of healing. But just as hope surged within her, the specter of doubt cast a shadow over the potential they had begun to forge. Could they truly navigate through such contrasting worlds? What if the very vulnerabilities they uncovered ultimately tore them apart instead of binding them closer together? The urgency gripped Mia. This was a new beginning, but it also felt precariously balanced, like a canvas waiting for its destiny to unfold. The next stroke would be critical. "Eleanor," she whispered, the tension thickening once more. What happens next? As Eleanor's breath caught in her throat, Mia could see the walls she had carefully erected and reinforced were starting to tremble. This was at the pivotal moment where vulnerability shifted into reality. She sensed the enormity of what lay ahead, heavy and daunting like unfurling a canvas under the weight of a tempest. I guess we start with the silence." Then Eleanor whispered, some of the edge fading from her voice, replaced by a tremor of uncertainty. "But what if silence isn't enough?" Mia's heart raced. This was the inquiry that had punctuated their past encounters, and now it unfurled softly in the air between them. "Then we speak about everything that surrounds it," she replied, her tone steadying as she steadied her mind. "Your silence hides so many emotions, stories, experiences. Let us unravel them together." James cleared his throat, reestablishing his presence as mediator. "I think it's crucial we set some ground rules, even for an emotional conversation," he offered. "No disruptions, just honesty." Mia met his gaze and nodded. She felt anchored by his calm assertion, the same way she felt grounded with her paintbrush in hand. She turned back to Eleanor, her eyes glimmering with earnest determination. "We're here to create something genuine, to connect without judgment." Eleanor took a deep breath, and for a moment, Mia was gripped by the misguided sensation that the air itself had thickened in anticipation. She reluctantly shifted her eyes toward the abstract, painting the embodiment of uncharted emotions. The swirls of color represented anguish, hope, and fragmentation. They were the reflection of a fragile bond delicately hung between them. But even amidst this uncertainty, a jolt of inspiration surged inside Mia. "Eleanor," she began, her voice catching with enthusiasm, "each color in my painting is connected to an emotion. If we can name those feelings together, if we can express the silence, maybe it could transform into something more vibrant than either of us imagined." "What do you want to know?" Eleanor finally asked, her gaze softened, curiosity breaking through her guarded exterior. Mia hesitated, contemplating her next words. "Tell me about a moment you felt the silence most powerfully." Eleanor's expression shifted, caught between nostalgia and pain. There's this memory from when I was young, standing at the edge of the lake, watching the water ripple, reflecting the world back at me. My heart said so much, but my voice never joined it. Mia held her breath. Each word felt like an invitation, peeling back the layers of Eleanor's guarded world. "Was it fear?" Mia asked, fighting to keep her voice from wavering. "Fear of what people would say, or fear of your own feelings?" Eleanor's eyes narrowed, contemplating this proposition as if it challenged the very core of her being. "Both, I think. I think my silence was a choice I made out of fear of rejection, but it became a refuge, an easy escape." A frown marked Mia's brows. "But it wasn't an absolute choice for you, is it? That choice can find you." The moment hung between them, electric and taut. Seeing Eleanor confronted with her past stoked Mia's own insecurities. She thought of her doubts, the fear of failure, of not living up to expectations. But in this moment, they were strangely unified by their vulnerabilities. "What about you?" Eleanor shifted the focus, probing into Mia's unsaid truths. "Are you really ready to share your own struggles?" Mia's heart thudded. It was a bold shift, drawing her mirror back, exposing reflections she had concealed even from herself. "I've spent too long trying to please others with my art," she admitted, her voice quaking slightly. "But as I pour myself onto the canvas, I realize I've been stifling my true voice, your silence echoing in my own fear of conflict." A moment passed, heavy and reflective. They stood booted in their openness, understanding the complexities within each other's narratives. Yet doubts flickered in Mia's mind. Would this bond strengthen or further divide them as they sifted through the wreckage of their histories. As Eleanor's gaze bore into her, Mia felt equal parts terrified and alive, a flame igniting at the thought of their mutual journey toward discovery. Could they navigate the vulnerability? Was there enough between them to bind together their silences, bridging the chasm of unspoken fears? Mia's pulse raced, aware that her next words could steer this fragile exploration. Eleanor, if we're truly connecting, do you think we could turn our discussion into art? Something we could create together, combining our stories? With a hesitant nod, Eleanor's brow furrowed, a mix of apprehension and excitement swirling within her. Art as a method of healing? That could be powerful. But are you really prepared for where this might lead? Mia took a deep breath, feeling the weight of commitment resting heavy upon her shoulders. There was an undeniable uncertainty about branching into this creative endeavor, but the prospect of exploring their union, both in silence and expression, called to her in tantalizing whispers. More than ever, she replied, each word brimming with passion. Eleanor smiled faintly, but Mia felt a lurking shadow of doubt. Was she opening themselves to healing or deeper wounds? In that moment, a thought struck her. If they were about to venture into the chaos of unfiltered emotion, what unseen realities lay ahead as they committed to this joint artistic endeavor? With these questions lingering in the air, Mia gazed at her collaborator, uncertainty mixed with anticipation awaiting the next steps to unfold. What truths would they unearth? And would they be strong enough to face the tumultuous journey that lay just beyond the horizon? As the silence settled into the room, Mia felt the gravity of their unspoken pact to explore the depths of their emotions through art. She couldn't help but wonder if this exploration was a journey into healing or an unearthing of buried fears. Eleanor's tentative smile mirrored Mia's own apprehension, revealing a shared vulnerability that was both exhilarating and terrifying. Mia grasped her paintbrush as if it were a lifeline, a tool that would channel their hidden emotions. The blank canvas loomed before her, white and untouched, a stark contrast to the swirling turmoil inside her. Would they truly be able to manifest their struggles into something transformative? Let us start by mapping our emotions, Mia suggested. She felt a surge of creativity course through her, an urge to take the abstract silences and translate them into something tangible. What colors do you feel right now? Eleanor pondered, glancing at the canvas, her expression thoughtful. I think gray. It feels heavy and uncertain, like a storm ready to break. Mia nodded, the weight of Eleanor's honesty validating her own insecurities. I feel chaotic colors swirling around reds and blues clashing. It's a mix of fear and excitement. She dipped her brush into the chaotic reds, allowing her intuition to guide the strokes across the canvas. Each movement was not just an application of paint. It felt like an unburdening, a release of emotions that had pinned her down for too long. Eleanor stepped forward, still hesitant. Can I add the gray? For a moment, Mia hesitated. Would combining their emotions dilute the purity of their individual truths? But then, she reminded herself that this journey was about connection. Of course, she replied, stepping back to give Eleanor space. As Eleanor added the gray, Mia watched, noting the subtle shifts in her demeanor. With each stroke, Eleanor's confidence appeared to grow, her silent battle beginning to take form against the stark white backdrop. For Mia, it was illuminating. She realized how powerful collaboration could be. It was just about her fears, but also about embracing someone else's. Do you ever wonder if our chaos is what makes art beautiful? Mia asked, contemplating the purpose of their artistic endeavors. The conversation flowed as easily as paint across the canvas, each shared insight fostering a deeper connection. Eleanor looked up, a flicker of understanding in her eyes. It seems counterintuitive, the mess of emotions somehow leads to clarity. I suppose art could be our refuge. Mia's heart swelled at Eleanor's acknowledgement. It spoke to their collective journey, the strength found in vulnerability. But as they painted, The fear of what lay beneath the surface pulsed in the back of Mia's mind. Would they truly find clarity, or would the clarity reveal cracks in the foundation of their reinvigorated connection? Deep in her thoughts, Mia applied more strokes. Each color became a catharsis, but the underlying question lingered: what if exploring these emotions led to conflict? The fear of losing the tenuous bond they were building was almost paralyzing. She thought back to the moments Eleanor had shared about her lake memory, standing silent where her emotions ran deep. What if, Mia mused aloud, our truths push each other away? Eleanor paused, scrutinizing the growing canvas with a furrowed brow. But what if they bring us closer? What if we discover not just pain, but strength in the struggles we face? Mia took a deep, steadying breath, feeling the spark of their commitment pushing her through. Let us promise to be honest. If we uncover something too painful, let us talk about it, okay? Eleanor nodded, more resolute now, her brush moving steadily against the canvas. Right? If we're committed to the process, then we owe it to ourselves to reveal everything. Our fears, our triumphs, even if it hurts. They painted together, lost in a shared rhythm, an amalgamation of colors blending into a tapestry of their truths. Yet, even amidst this creative fervor, Mia felt an unsettling churn in her stomach. What if the very act of revealing their burdens exposed more than they bargained for? The mere thought sent a chill down her spine, but there was no turning back now. They were committed to this journey, steeling each other for whatever might rise to the surface. With every brushstroke, they were challenged to confront their shadows. But was there enough light between them to illuminate the truths hiding in the corners? As the painting developed, so did the complexities of their emotional landscapes. Each layer revealed not just their struggles, but the budding wisdom they would need to navigate what lay ahead. And as Mia stepped back to survey their work, a startling realization struck her: what unseen past would emerge in the wake of this exploration? Would their artistic endeavor serve as a mirror reflecting their deepest fears, or forge a path toward clarity and understanding? With those heavy questions hanging in the air, Mia watched Eleanor's focused expression, wondering what boundaries would be tested in their quest to uncover the truths buried in their hearts. Mia took a step back, her heart pounding in her chest as she absorbed the chaotic beauty of their work. The colors blended but seemed to pulse with energy, as if their emotions had come alive on the canvas. The gray Eleanor had chosen mingled seamlessly with Mia's fiery reds, a reminder of the storm juxtaposed against the chaos. But amid the beauty, an unsettling thought gnawed at her resolve. What if revealing their truths unleashed a tempest neither of them could navigate? Eleanor's gaze remained fixed on the canvas, lost in thought as she leaned in closer, scrutinizing the interplay of colors. Mia's pulse quickened. She was acutely aware of Eleanor's intensity. This commitment to honesty they had forged felt like double-edged sword, capable of cutting through the veil of their relationship, while simultaneously threatening to tear it apart. Do you think we should discuss what we realize as we paint? Eleanor finally asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I mean, after everything we've put on this canvas. For a brief moment, Mia felt panic bubble within her. Are you really ready? She countered, the question more a plea for reassurance than an inquiry. What if what we find is too much to bear? Eleanor responded without hesitation. We have to face it, Mia. This is our pact. We can't let fear dictate what we create or how we connect. Mia nodded slowly, her inner turmoil intensifying as the weight of Eleanor's statement settled. They had agreed to uncover their truths, but what if those truths were too raw, too vulnerable? She put her brush down, feeling the sweat on her palms as dread washed over her. I've been thinking about a lot of things: my relationship with art, how it's tied to my past. Her confession felt like a leap into a dark abyss, but it was one she was willing to take. There's a part of me that's terrified of where this exploration may lead. Eleanor, still absorbed by the canvas, turned to Mia. Maybe that fear is valid. Isn't it easier to hide? But then again, We wouldn't be creating anything truly meaningful. Taking a deep breath, Mia steeled herself. She had always been good at concealing her emotions, tucking them away beneath layers of humor and smiles. But now, faced with the very essence of her identity being laid bare, she wondered if she was up for the task. Yet she couldn't help but feel the energy positive and vibrant shifting between them as they opened up. This was new ground, and with each admission, it felt as if they were building a bridge from their internal struggles to a shared enlightenment. "All right, I'll start," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "I've always believed that my worth was tied to how effectively I could please others, be it through my art or just in my daily life. I don't know how to just be for myself." The words hung in the air like a delicate thread, binding their shared vulnerability. The truth felt heavy, but a flicker of relief punctuated the weight. It was a small victory, releasing what had been buried for so long. Eleanor regarded her thoughtfully, her expression softening with empathy. "That is powerful, Mia. I think we all have parts of ourselves that we bury for fear of judgment or rejection." An unexpected warmth blossomed within Mia. Eleanor's understanding felt like an anchor in turbulent waters, signaling that she was not alone in this. They were both confronted with challenges that shaped them, each carrying complex histories intertwined with their artistic endeavors. As they resumed painting, Mia felt snippets of strength emerging alongside her fears. Each brushstroke now infused with purpose. She began experimenting with blending techniques, curious to push boundaries further. Would their collaboration yield something transformative enough to create beauty from chaos? The colors on the canvas began to swirl together in new ways. Fractured lines melded, colors bled into one another, and what once felt formless began to determine its own shape. In that moment, Mia realized perhaps their emotions, when confronted, could birth something entirely transformative, not only regarding their art but their lives. But as Mia watched the new layer develop, a lingering doubt tightened its grip. What future shadows were still lurking, undetected, beneath the surface of their creation? What unknown pains and joys were wrapped up in their combined histories, waiting for acknowledgement? She pondered that question deeply, the realization that artists or not, they were still human, complex, multifaceted beings capable of tremendous growth, but also of missteps. Something deep inside stirred, a mixture of daring hope and apprehension. With renewed determination, Mia resolved to uncover all aspects of herself, not just in paint, but in life. As her heart raced with the prospect of further vulnerability, she glanced at Eleanor, who was seemingly lost in thought. "What if our next step is even more challenging?" Mia quietly asked, contemplating what lay ahead. Eleanor looked up, her eyes filled with a steadfastness that matched Mia's rising courage. "Then let us take it together." But little did they know, the connection they were starting to forge would soon be tested beyond anything they had anticipated. An unexpected confrontation awaited, one that would demand more than mere honesty between them. Mia felt that tension simmering beneath her skin, an awareness that their artistic journey was just stepping into the real test of their collaboration. What demons might they confront? And were they truly ready for the revelations that awaited them? Mia stared at the evolving canvas, the vibrant colors whispering promises of liberation and tangled truths yet to be revealed. Eleanor's steady gaze felt like a gravitational pull, drawing her deeper into the tumultuous ocean of her own emotions. How fragile their agreement seemed now, resting on the precipice of revelation. What if they dare to share too much? What if exposing the underlying threads of their lives shattered the delicate dynamic they were cultivating? "Let us push ourselves, Mia," Eleanor said, her voice steady despite the weight of unvoiced fears lingering in the air. "This is our opportunity to expand, to embrace what we often run from." Mia clenched her jaw, contemplating the implications of that statement. This was more than an exercise in creativity. It was an exploration into their very beings. What they would find there struck both fear and excitement into her core. Okay, Mia finally replied, the word tasting like determination on her tongue. If we're doing this, we should lay everything on the table. No more hiding. The challenge sparked something reluctant within her. Could she truly devise the courage to unearth her vulnerabilities when for so long she had buried them beneath layers of congeniality and artistry? The thought sent a surge of adrenaline through her. In art, as in life, remaining stagnant felt suffocating, and this journey could very well rewrite her narrative. She inhaled deeply, and her focus returned to Eleanor, who had picked up her brush again, poised and resolute. "What is your truth?" Mia asked, her curiosity peeking through the shroud of anxiety. Eleanor paused, her brush hovering midair. "My truth?" she echoed, almost in disbelief. "You're not the only one with baggage, you know. Art is my refuge, but I often feel like I'm painting a facade and that my true self is hidden beneath it." Mia's heart quickened. What lay beneath Eleanor's careful crafting of her outward persona? Would the real Eleanor be someone she could connect with? The air between them thickened, the weight of potential revelations settling in. "I find it hard to connect, to let people in," Eleanor confessed, her expression momentarily breaking from its unyielding focus. "I worry that if they truly knew me, they wouldn't understand, let alone accept me." Mia felt an echo of that sentiment reverberate through her own fears. The implications of their unfolding conversation weighed heavily, yet a compelling need to articulate her own burden surfaced. "I felt that too," she admitted, hesitating but determined. "Like I'm only worthy of acceptance when I perform well enough or offer something valuable. That my thoughts have to come wrapped in a pretty package for anyone to care." A marked silence enveloped them as they absorbed their entwined truths. The realization dawned this deeply personal exploration wasn't merely about art. It was about unmasking the vulnerabilities they both shielded so vigorously, investigating shadows lurking inside their souls. She exchanged glances with Eleanor, whose expression hinted that she understood. "Let us use this canvas to reflect," Eleanor proposed. "Let it bear witness to not just our art, but who we truly are on the inside." As they began to layer colors, reds bursting with passion, ochres seeded with anxiety, and blues imbued with melancholy, Mia felt a burgeoning sense of freedom enveloping her. This was more than painting. It was catharsis, a bond forged through vulnerability. Yet buried beneath that exhilaration loomed an unsettling question. Would this honesty actually strengthen their connection, or was it a path to fracture their fragile camaraderie? Each stroke of paint sent shivers down her spine, infusing Mia's inner landscape with authenticity. The peace she derived was suddenly overshadowed by a vivid realization of an impending turmoil. What if confronting their deeper truths ruptured the bond they were forging? Feeling unsettled yet resolute, Mia resolved now to not only explore her identity through canvas, but also to navigate the treacherous waters of her own past that shaped her. As she worked, passion ignited within her, amplifying emotions long suppressed. But an acute realization cut through her euphoria. Every masterpiece comes with its own scars. What pain did the brush carry with it as they swayed between creation and self-discovery? What truths approximately rested unbeknownst to them, still concealed under layers of paint and hesitation? And as they continued their collaboration, the specter of the unknown grew, reminding Mia that true vulnerability was often hardest during the moments of discovery that birthed longing for acceptance and connection. "Together, we can navigate this complexity," she murmured under her breath. It was both a challenge and a promise to herself. The brave reckoning awaited, but would courage rise to meet it? With hearts pulsating in anticipation, they both labored on the shimmering illusions before them, unaware of the turbulence that lay just over the horizon. Could they withstand the revelations that lay ahead, or would the very truths they sought lead to unforeseen consequences? The canvas, a mute witness to their evolving stories, beckoned what awaited them both just beyond its shimmering surface. Mia dipped her brush into the paint, feeling its weight glide across the canvas as she began to relinquish the tight grip she had on her guarded self. She meticulously placed colors, blending them as a physical representation of her internal chaos, forcing her to confront the stark contrast between her vivid artistic expression and the muted tones of her reality. Eleanor's voice snapped her from a reverie. "What about you, Mia? What truths are you painting right now?" Mia stiffened, the unbearable tension creeping back. "I don't know," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've always felt like I have to curate my thoughts, to make them digestible for others, and I'm terrified of what imploding that might mean." The brush trembled in her hand, reflecting the unease that coursed through her veins. Every dialogue with Eleanor felt like chipping away at a wall she carefully constructed, brick by meticulous brick, over years of social encounters. But as she looked into Eleanor's steady gaze, a flicker of courage ignited within her, pushing against the fear. "Then let us break down those walls," Eleanor urged, her tone firm yet supportive. "Art can be a powerful means of confrontation. Bring that fear to the canvas with you." Mia inhaled sharply. Confrontation, a word that felt alien and daunting. Could it be possible that art could strip her bare, leaving her vulnerable but somehow more whole? She focused on the rhythm of her brushstrokes, each addition of color a heartbeat, allowing her to process her unease. With each layer, she dared herself to speak. "I fear I'm stagnating in my life. I've put so much weight into what others think of me, colleagues, family, friends, that I've forgotten what it means to truly be myself. That part of me feels so intangible sometimes, like it's being walled off in a cage." The raw honesty of her confession hung in the air, a wave rising between them, threatening to break. Striving to meet Eleanor eye to eye felt monumental, yet she sensed it was crucial. What good was vulnerability if it was allowed to linger in silence? Eleanor nodded, her expression softening. "You're not alone in that fear. In art, we become what we create." Isn't it fascinating to consider how others perceive our creations as a reflection of who we are? Mia nodded, allowing the weight of that insight to wash over her. The idea that their art would eventually bridge the gap between themselves and the world ignited a spark of understanding. But beneath that excitement still loomed insurrection. What if this journey of collective self-discovery spiraled into chaos? The colors on the canvas began to blend into shadows of uncertainty, no longer an inspiring oasis, but a labyrinth of decisions, a labyrinth that mirrored her thoughts. Did she possess the strength to share her true self, or would it unravel too fast and too harshly? Even the strongest artists feel intimidated. Eleanor continued, lifting her brush on the canvas, the bright pigments forming swirls of color, evoking wild energy. Embrace the discomfort. It's part of the evolution. The ease with which Eleanor articulated her own setbacks flashed light onto a path Mia hadn't considered. It was clear their collaboration could foster growth, but not without potential ramifications. Feelings of self-doubt threatened to surge back. What if my truths become a burden to others? A disruption to the balance we're striving to achieve? She queried, her voice shaking ever so slightly. Growth can feel disruptive, Mia, but can also be transformative, Eleanor reminded her. Mia absorbed the weight of those words, recognizing they encapsulated the juncture she stood at, one foot rooted in fear and the other pushing towards empowerment. They plunged deeper into their work, guiding each other through the process of unearthing discomforting truths while pursuing artistic expression. But with every layer added to the canvas, the looming question of whether their honesty would fortify or fracture their bond loomed imminent, creating a furnace of tension that simmered underneath. Everything, fueled by determination and trepidation, Mia set her brush down momentarily, the color exploding across the canvas, echoing her inner conflict. She realized it was not merely an exploration of art, but a profound dialogue of self-reclamation. But a sudden thought struck her. If they could excavate these buried feelings, What other aspects of her life lay waiting for exploration? Was she ready to tackle those conflicts beyond the canvas? I'll show you my vulnerability. She finally confessed, the words pouring forth. But in return, I need to know that you'll share everything you are, the raw and the messy. Can you promise me that? As Eleanor met her gaze, determination ignited in Mia's heart, a pact forming in the atmosphere charged with both fear and the thrill of newfound potential. What could transpire if they truly held nothing back? But lurking in the background, shadows whispered doubts, teasing the corners of their unspoken fears. Would their creative journey of unveiling their true selves culminate in bonding or abandon? Each brushstroke left in its wake the promise of transformation, but with it, the potential for loss. Mia felt the world around her vibrate with possibility as she held her breath. The moment of revelation was drawing, and with it, chaos and clarity danced tantalizingly close. Would she be able to face the real and raw parts of herself without collapsing under the weight? The unveiling day marked a pivotal moment for Mia, her heart racing with anticipation and the weight of vulnerability. As she entered the gallery, the air hummed with excitement, and she could feel the energy charging throughout the room. The patrons, all eager to see the creative output of a waitress-turned-artist, buzzed with speculation about her work. Yet amid that thrumming energy, Mia focused on her own transformation. She had journeyed from self-doubt to self-expression. Could she now maintain that evolution? When the curtain lifted to reveal her painting, a fusion of Eleanor's gray with the chaotic colors Mia had poured from her soul, gasps reverberated. The piece immediately drew viewers in, each shade reflecting not just their stories, but the partnership Mia had forged with Eleanor in their shared vulnerability. Mia's heart swelled. This wasn't merely art. It resonated with the emotional landscape they had navigated together. This triumph spoke volumes, demonstrating her newfound self-worth, which had burgeoned through their connection. Stepping forward into the crowd, she felt a rush of confidence, an exhilaration that accompanied her decision to anchor her identity in her artistry. Slowly, discussions about the painting ignited, and, amidst the comments, she recognized validation. Her work was connecting with others, providing them a glimpse into the intricate layers of their own emotions. Mia scanned the room, landing her eyes on Eleanor. The older woman was beaming, her appreciation radiating warmth. For the first time, they exchanged knowing smiles not as artist and subject, but as collaborators, each recognizable, each cherished. The painting had birthed a deeper understanding of the silence that had previously lingered between them. Just then, a notable figure weaving through the crowd emerged. James. His proud gaze fell upon Mia, a palpable shift occurring as he approached her. "You've profoundly captured more than I could have anticipated," he confessed, respect lacing his words. The acknowledgement was a balm, smoothing over the rough edges of self-doubt that had previously plagued her. Offered in that moment was not just validation of her work, but celebration of her journey, moving from serving coffee to commanding attention as a revered artist. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Mia responded, "Thank you. This truly means everything." But within her sparked an awareness of how her journey hadn't just changed her. It illuminated a path for others, creating a dialogue about silence, love, and kinship that resonated on multiple levels. The hours passed like a whirlwind, but she began to feel a grounding presence form in her heart. Each compliment reinforced the evolution she had undergone. Standing in her truth as a proud artist became a celebrated declaration. She had conquered the assumptions that marginalized her, yielding personal fulfillment. Eventually, Eleanor joined Mia, their exchanged laughter punctuating the moment with brilliance. "You really did it," she proclaimed, pride shimmering in her voice. "Your fears were just stepping stones towards something beautiful." Mia's throat tightened, a welling of emotions spilling over. They stood united, both transformed through the experience of collaboration. Eleanor had embraced her silence rather than hide it. Mia had learned to be loud through her art rather than concede to anonymity. Their narrative exemplified not just personal growth, but acknowledgement of shared vulnerabilities. That night, Mia walked home under a star-speckled sky, her heart alight with a newfound sense of belonging. Approaching her apartment where the painted memories awaited, she embraced the space that now felt alive, with potential her canvas offering an array of colors that symbolized courage and connection. In achieving not only a successful unveiling, but reconciling her art with her true self. Mia stood on solid ground. She had consciously transformed her frail fears into expressions of love, bravery, and individuality, crafting a masterpiece not just of paint on canvas, but of what it means to speak and listen, to heal and connect it. Here lies the conclusion of Mia's journey, where she stands as a beacon of resilience, creativity, and empowerment. Her story is indelibly etched, not just in the artwork before her, but in the lives she touched, the friendships she forged, and most importantly, the person she became. You need to subscribe now to ensure you don't miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your love for impactful storytelling. Comment your reactions and theories about the conclusion of Mia's transformational journey. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this empowering conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share this amazing story.